Imagine a cold so deep, it hurts to breathe. It's mid-December in rural Minnesota, 1978. The kind of night where the snow swallows all the sound, burying the world in a heavy, suffocating silence. Out here, miles from the nearest town, you don't lock your doors. Why would you? The darkness feels protective, safe. But tonight, the dark is keeping a secret. Down the long drifted driveway of a quiet farmhouse, a pair of headlights cuts through the swirling snow. The engine cuts out. A car door clicks shut. And out there in the sub-zero wind, a pair of eyes is watching the windows go dark, one by one. We think of homes as fortresses. We think the walls we build will keep the world out. But what happens when the monster doesn't care about your walls? What happens when he's already standing at the foot of your stairs, completely silent, holding a shotgun? This is the story of a horrific mass murder and a piece of evidence so small, so entirely overlooked by early investigators, that it took over 20 years to finally bring a monster to justice. This is the case of the Huling family murders. I'm Audrina, and this is True Crime on the Brain. Before we get started, a quick heads up about today's episode. We are discussing a case that involves severe gun violence, mass murder, and the deaths of children. There are also brief mentions of stalking and sexual assault. It gets pretty heavy, so please take care of yourself while listening. Listener discretion advised. To understand this case, we must understand the setting. It's 1978. Clearwater, Minnesota is a tight-knit rural community. Crime here meant a stolen tractor or a teenager rowdy on cheap beer. It was the kind of era where your neighbors were your security system, and your front door key was probably lost at the bottom of a kitchen drawer because you never used it. It's 4:00 a.m. on December 15th. The ground is buried in thick, heavy snow. The wind is howling outside, dropping temperatures well below zero. Inside a quiet, insulated farmhouse, 36-year-old Alice Huling and her 4 children are fast asleep. Alice is a fiercely hardworking single mother. She's doing everything she can to provide a good, stable life for her kids. 16-year-old Susan, 13-year-old Wayne, 12-year-old Patty, and 11-year-old Billy. Money is tight, but the house is full of life. Billy is jolted awake in the upstairs bedroom he shares with his older brother Wayne. From the kitchen downstairs, he hears heavy footsteps. Then, muffled noises, the sound of a struggle. Alice is awake and she is fighting for her life. And then the deafening, house-shaking roar of a shotgun blast. Imagine the psychological paralysis of an 11-year-old boy in that moment. Your brain is scrambling, trying to process a nightmare while still half awake. Is it a dream? Is it a break-in? Your adrenaline spikes, but your body freezes. Before Billy can even comprehend what's happening, heavy footsteps begin climbing the creaking wooden stairs. They move with an eerie, calm deliberation. They stop right outside the boy's bedroom door. The door swings open. Through the pitch-black darkness, Billy can only see a terrifying silhouette standing in the doorway. The man is wearing a heavy coat and holding a shotgun. From his bed, Wayne bravely asks the question anyone would. "Who are you?" The intruder doesn't answer. He just raises the barrel. He fires, killing Wayne instantly. The gunman then turns, walking down the hallway. Billy, frozen in sheer terror, listens as the man enters Susan's room. Boom. Then into 12-year-old Patty's room. Boom. The house falls dead silent again. The air is thick with the smell of gunpowder and the sound of the wind outside. And then, the footsteps return to Billy's room. In a survival instinct that child psychologists still marvel at today, Billy doesn't scream. He doesn't run. He pulls the heavy covers over his head and plays dead. He huddles into a tight ball, stiffening his muscles, trying not to let the blanket rise and fall with his frantic breathing. The killer stands directly over his bed. He aims through the blanket and fires twice. The blasts are so close they literally whiz past Billy's head, scorching the mattress and tearing through the pillows. But miraculously, both shots miss his body. The killer, assuming his grim work is finished, turns and leaves the house. Billy waits. He stays perfectly still in total, agonizing silence for 15 minutes. He is listening to the pounding of his own heart, terrified that the man is standing right outside the door, waiting for him to move. Finally, shivering from both fear and the sub-zero air pouring into the house, Billy runs. He flees out into the freezing night, running through the snow in his pajamas to a neighbor's house. His mother, his brother, and his 2 sisters are dead. Billy is the sole survivor of a massacre. If you were to look at the Huling farmhouse in rural Minnesota that afternoon, you wouldn't see a future crime scene. You would just see a typical, busy American family trying to navigate a freezing, sub-zero Midwestern winter just 10 days before Christmas. To understand the sheer weight of what was taken from the world, we have to look at the ordinary beauty of that final day. The morning starts early for 36-year-old Alice Huling. As a single mother raising 4 kids on her own, her days are a marathon. Money is tight, but her devotion to her family is absolute. She gets the kids up and fed, bundling them into heavy winter coats, hats, and boots to face the biting Minnesota wind. The house falls quiet for a few hours while the kids are away at school and Alice at work. Alice worked as a nurse's aide at Minnesota State Reformatory for Men in nearby St. Cloud. She is fiercely protective, a woman known by her neighbors as independent and deeply kind. By mid-afternoon, the farmhouse comes back to life. The kids return home from school, letting in a blast of freezing air as they stomp off the snow from their boots in the entryway. The afternoon plays out exactly the way it does in millions of homes. There's homework at the kitchen table. There's the sound of the kids teasing each other, laughing, raiding the fridge for after-school snacks. At some point that evening, Billy is playing with his favorite toy. It's a tiny metallic blue and black Corgi Jr.'s Batmobile. He's rolling it across the kitchen table, lost in the imaginative world of an 11-year-old boy. When dinner is served, Billy sets the toy down right there on the table. It's a minor detail, a mundane, forgettable moment. Alice serves dinner, the family eats together, and they talk about their upcoming Christmas plans. As night falls, the temperature outside plummets well below zero. The wind howls against the window panes. By late evening, the house winds down. The lights in the farmhouse are turned off one by one. Susan and Patty go to their respective bedrooms. Upstairs, Billy and his older brother Wayne climb into their twin beds in their shared bedroom. Billy leaves his toy Batmobile sitting downstairs on the kitchen table, fully intending to pick it up and play with it the next morning. By midnight, the Huling family is fast asleep, entirely unaware that out in the darkness, someone is watching their home. He doesn't know them, they don't know him, but he has chosen their secluded farmhouse. At 4 o'clock in the morning, the ordinary day ends and the nightmare begins. Billy is jolted awake, not by a dream, but by the sounds of a violent struggle downstairs in the dark kitchen. Alice is woken up. She finds an intruder in her home, and instead of backing down, she fights as hard as she can to keep him away from her children. But the intruder has a shotgun. A single blast echoes through the house. Alice falls. And upstairs in the dark, Billy listens as heavy boots begin to climb the wooden stairs to his bedroom. December 14th was just another Thursday, but by the dawn of December 15th, a family was gone, and a young boy was left alone in the snow, waiting for a justice that would take 22 years to arrive. When the Stearns County Sheriff's deputies arrive at the scene, they are met with absolute carnage. The brutality is overwhelming. The community is instantly plunged into a state of total paranoia. This wasn't the late 70s landscape of a big city. This was small-town America. Parents started arming their children. People sat in their living rooms facing their front doors with loaded shotguns. All trust in this small town had been broken. And because of that environment, police immediately began looking for a local. A neighbor, an acquaintance, maybe a disgruntled boyfriend, or even a rogue local deputy. They assumed whoever did this had to know the layout of the family home. They also focused heavily on the theory that the killer might have been a disgruntled former inmate at the correctional facility that Alice worked at. Maybe someone had targeted her for revenge. But just 4 days after the murders, A bizarre incident occurred at a pizzeria just 4 miles away from the Huling home. A man is arrested for auto theft and for aggressively harassing the waitresses. His name is Joseph Chur Jr. Chur is a 27-year-old drifter who has been living out of his car at a nearby highway rest stop. When police search his 1974 Ford Galaxy, they don't find a normal car. They find a deeply disturbing rolling toolkit of a predator. Inside the toolkit, they find a ski mask, a heavy metal rod wrapped in a steering wheel cover, essentially a homemade club, and they find hundreds of scraps of paper with the names, phone numbers, and license plate tags of local women. Joseph Chur Jr. was a serial stalker, selecting targets from the local restaurants where they worked. They also find one more item tossed into the clutter of the car: a tiny 2-inch metal toy, a Corgi Jr.'s Batmobile. When investigators question Chur about the Huling murders, he is incredibly evasive. He lies about his whereabouts. He acts highly suspicious. But forensic science in 1978 isn't what it is today. They don't have DNA database matching. They can't link his specific shotgun to the casings found. And here's where the psychology of the investigation fails. Investigators are heavily hyper-focused on the theory that a local acquaintance killed the Hulings. Because Chur is a random drifter from out of town, he doesn't fit their narrative. They ask Chur about the toy Batmobile, to which he casually responds, "Oh, that belongs to my granddaughter." Keep in mind, Joseph Chur Jr. is 27 years old. The math doesn't add up. A 27-year-old does not have a grandchild. But the deputies, blinded by their own theories, don't even press it. They chalk him up as a weird local pest. They charge him with the auto theft, and eventually, he gets out. In criminology, there is a concept called tunnel vision, or the disease of certainty. Investigators lock onto one theory, and they unconsciously discard or minimize any evidence that doesn't fit. By letting Joseph Chur Jr. slip through the cracks, a terrifying monster was unleashed on the state of Minnesota. Over the next 2 years, Chur went on a horrific rampage. In 1979, he bludgeoned 18-year-old Marlise Wohlenhaus to death in her home. In 1980, he kidnapped, raped, and murdered 19-year-old college student Diane Edwards. He raped and assaulted multiple other young women, primarily waitresses that he stalked. Eventually, the law caught up to him for the murder of Diane Edwards. In 1981, Chur was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. But the Huling family case, it went ice cold. For 20 years, it sat in a box in an evidence locker. Alice, Wayne, Susan, and Patty became ghost stories told to new recruits. Let's fast forward to the late 1990s. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension forms a specialized cold case unit led by a determined, detail-oriented detective named Everett Doolittle. Doolittle believes that cold cases aren't solved by magic. They are solved by rereading the files with fresh eyes. He takes a close look at Joseph Chur Jr., who is already sitting in a maximum security prison. Doolittle starts digging through Chur's old prison files and uncovers something shocking. Over the years, Chur couldn't keep his mouth shut. Back in 1981 and again in 1998, Chur had bragged to cellmates. He had actually dictated a detailed confession letter to an inmate, boasting that he broke into the Huling house because he wanted to assault one of the teenage girls and ended up shotgunning the whole family when the mother fought back. In that confession, Chur bragged about Billy, the surviving boy. He told his cellmate that the only reason Billy remembered that night was because, quote, the fear was etched into his memory so badly that he would have to live with it for the rest of his life, unquote. It was a chilling admission of psychological torture. But prison confessions are notoriously tricky in court. Defense attorneys can easily argue that jailhouse informants are lying to get reduced sentences, which happens fairly often. Detective Doolittle knows that he needs physical, undeniable proof to tie Chur to that specific farmhouse. He goes to the evidence locker and pulls out the boxes from 1978. He looks at the ski mask, the metal rod, and he coordinates with medical examiners who realize that the shape of the rod perfectly matches a deep, blunt force bruise found on Alice Huling's body. an injury from her brave final struggle. And then, Doolittle picks up the tiny, scratched-up 2-inch toy Batmobile. He reviews the notes from the original 1978 investigation and realized something unbelievable. In over 20 years, nobody had ever shown this car to Billy Huling. They had just taken Cher's absurd grandchild lie at face value. Doolittle tracks down Billy Huling. Billy is no longer a terrified 11-year-old boy. He is now a grown man serving his country as a petty officer in the United States Navy. Doolittle sits down with him and asks him a simple question that should have been asked decades prior. "Billy, did you lose anything the night your family was killed? Was anything missing from the house?" Without missing a beat, Billy looks at the detective and says, "Why? Did you find my Batmobile? I left it on the kitchen table the night of the murders." Think about the weight of that moment. The killer hadn't just brought items into the house. He had stolen a piece of a young boy's childhood as a trophy. He took it from the kitchen table after slaughtering Billy's family, threw it into his car, and kept it. And that tiny, forgotten toy was the key to his undoing. In January of 2000, nearly 22 years after he huddled under his blankets playing dead and living through the most traumatic moments of his life, Billy Huling walked into a Minnesota courtroom. He looked Joseph Cher Jr. dead in the eye and testified against him. The defense did their best. They argued that a toy car wasn't enough, that a boy's memory from a traumatic night over 2 decades ago couldn't be trusted. But the jury saw right through it. The combination of the toy Batmobile, the matching physical trauma on Alice, and the deeply specific prison confessions painted an undeniable picture of guilt. Joseph Cher Jr. was convicted on 4 counts of first-degree murder. The judge handed down 4 consecutive life sentences, ensuring he would never see the outside of a prison cell again. Billy Huling spoke to reporters after the trial. After everything he lost, after the decades of waiting, his words showed the absolute triumph of the human spirit over darkness. He said, and I quote, "I chose to go on with my life, move on with my life and do the best I can with what basically God gave me. Another chance." End quotes. To this day, Joseph Cher Jr. remains behind bars, where he will eventually die. The Huling family finally got their justice, and a cold case was closed. All because a detective decided to look at a tiny toy car and ask the one question everyone else forgot to ask. It reminds us that in true crime and in psychology, the smallest details often hold the heaviest truths. Thank you for joining me as I tell you about another case that has been rattling inside my brain. Please be sure to follow, rate, subscribe, or comment to keep up to date on new episodes and tell us what you think. Join us next Friday for another case that has been on my brain a lot lately. And remember, stay sane with True Crime on the Brain.